This is a review of Unit 1, Section 2.1. If you did not complete this in class, please follow along to complete this now. Okay. Simple functions. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to create simple functions. We're going to talk about return values, creating functions with multiple parameters. That's information you send to it, and sequence in Python. Please watch the video on your own. Python uses user-defined functions which you create, or built-in functions such as print. We've been using that all along. Print can be called using arguments or without, and send text to a standard output such as the console. Print uses parameters defined the variable arguments that can be passed to the function. Print defines multiple string number parameters, which means you can send a long list of arguments to print. Print can also be called directly with just its name and empty parentheses, and it will return a blank line in the standard output. So here's an example. Print has two arguments that will become, or parameters. That term can be used interchangeably, though they are slightly different. Parameters define a variable, and arguments that are passed to the function. So these are actually arguments because they're passed to the print function. So in this case, we have print a string called hello world because it's in quotes, a comma, another string. I'm sending the string argument to print. There should be a space in between those, and it should create one sentence. Run that. And we get hello world. I am sending string arguments to the print. In this case, we have a couple variables. Student underscore age equals 17. Student underscore name equals Hirohito Yamaguchi. And the print statement will replace the variable names with and intermix it with some strings. So in this case, the arguments are the student name, which should be Hirohito Yamaguchi, will be in class 4, comma, replace the value of student age, which is 17-year-old students, will be in the class 4 17-year-old students. So let's run that, and we get that output. In this case, we have multiple print statements. Remember, every time you initiate a print statement, you get a new line. So line 1 string should be on the first line. Line 2 string should be on the second line. Print without any parameters will produce a blank line, and then print line 4. So it should be line 1, line 2, a blank line, and then line 4. Let's see if that's what we get. And it is. Okay, passing arguments to print. Many arguments can be passed to print. Use the print statement with 8 or more arguments. Increase the number of arguments used to print to 8 or more. So we started out with age equals 17. So it's the same output we had before. And it replaced the variables. All right. So now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 so far. And we need to add up to 8 or more. I'm just going to put them in arg4. Just a couple more new strings. Argument 5, comma, argument 6. Make sure we put that in quotes to make it a string. 6. And we have to separate each one with a comma. That is what an argument is. And argument 8. Okay. So a lot of times in these drills, these tasks, just complete what they want you to do. I'm going to run that, and we get the 4 that we had before. The name will be in class for 17-year-olds, and then 1, that's argument 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And actually that actually gives me 9. I should have started at 5. Creating user-defined functions. Okay, print was a function that was created or as a built-in function. You can create your own functions to use code over and over again. You must start with the word def. Indentation, all the code that goes with the function must be indented. In Python, that is how it keeps track of what goes with what. You're going to define some parameters, you're going to have optional parameters, and you're going to return a value to the calling function. The function scope is something we will deal with later on. Okay, so here's a user-defined function. It's not a built-in. We've worked with lots of built-in functions to this point, but this is one we're creating. So it must have the word def. It must have a file or a function name that you provide. It must have open and close parentheses and a colon. And then all statements that go with this function must be indented. So indentation, it talks about right here. Use 4 spaces for this course. We're just going to use the default, which is probably 4. Okay, and there's an example of what the function actually looks like with color coding. All right, so here's the examples. Define a function that says hi. So in this case, we're going to run this, but nothing should happen because we haven't actually called the function. Same with this one. Okay. So you can define them, but you must call them to actually make them work. Notice that the calls down here are on column 0. Everything that's indented goes with that function. So these 2 print statements go with this say hi. This one print statement that says print 33 goes with this function. And then these functions, these are not part of the function because they are not indented. So as soon as Python sees that it's not indented, it stops the function. Okay. So in this case, we should call line 15, will call line 4, run that code, come back. It will print a blank line, and then it will run line 17, call this one, and come back, and the program will be over. Okay, we get hello there and goodbye. That's from line 15. Task 2, define and call a simple function called yellit. So a yellit in computer science or texting means that everything is capital. So we're going to create a function that's going to take a string and capitalize it. There will be no arguments. The indent the function's code is following. Define the variable name called phrase and initialize a short phrase. Print the phrase as well as in all uppercase letters followed by a exclamation point. Call yellit at the bottom of the cell after the function def. No indentation should be used. All right, so we create a function called def yellit. That's line 2. Make sure you have the parentheses and the colon. We create a variable called phrase, and we assign it a value of short sentence string dot upper, which will, whatever is put in there will be uppercase, and then we're going to print that. So we should get short sentence all in uppercase. When we run it, line 7 will run, which will call the function at line 2. It will run the 2 commands and then return processing to line 8. and we get short sentence with an exclamation point. Please watch the video about function parameters. Print and type are examples of predefined functions. All right, so in this example, we have yell this, and this time they have added an argument. And we call the function passing it is time to save the notebook. So the function is defined, and then line 6 calls line 2, and we should get it is time to save the notebook all in uppercase. In this case, if we don't send in an argument, it's going to replace phrase with the word hi, so that, and then say this with bye. So we should get 2 outputs, hi and then bye, on different lines. And that's what we get. This is task 3. We're going to create a function defined yell this. We're going to pass it one argument called words to yell. In the function call itself, we're going to use a different variable called getWords. And remember, when you call a function, whatever's in the parameter list becomes the argument. So that value will take on that. Words to yell will take on whatever is in the variable getWords down on line 8. Remember, variables cannot have spaces in them, so that's why words underscore to underscore yell, and we use underscore for spaces to represent spaces, because function names and variables cannot have spaces in them. So we're going to run this. We're going to get our input from the user, enter words to yell, uppercase, and it will output whatever you put in uppercase. So that get words takes on the value. We then call yell this with that parameter. Words to yell takes on that variable and prints it out with the dot upper to make it uppercase. So let's run that. Have a nice day. We're going to yell that, and it will uppercase it all.